Welcome. Once again, another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, and tonight is our Friday night TV movie chat. Our film is Crimson Peak, and joining me, as usual, is my co-host, and it's his pick this week. So, once again, welcome, John Norris.
Hey, everybody.
Again, this is his pick this week, so we're going to get right into it. Let's have fun.
Okay, so tonight we are discussing 2015's Crimson Peak, directed by Guillermo Del Toro, written by Guillermo Del Toro and Matthew Robbins. Did you know Matthew Robbins directed Dragon Slayer?
No, I did not.
Yep. So, which we've talked about on the show before.
Yes.
Produced by Guillermo Del Toro, Callum Green, John Jashney, and Thomas Tull. Starring Mia Wasikowska, Jessica Chastain, Tom Hiddleston, Charlie Hunnam, and Jim Beaver. Production companies, Legendary Pictures and Guillermo's company Double Dare You Productions, distributed by Universal Pictures. Release date October 16th, 2015, USA. Running time 1 hour 59 minutes. So what it's about. In Buffalo, New York, 1887, American heiress Edith Cushing is the daughter of wealthy businessman Carter Cushing. One night, young Edith is visited by her deceased mother's black disfigured ghost who warns her, beware of Crimson Peak. In 1901, Edith, now a budding author, meets Sir Thomas Sharp, an English baronet.
Hold on, just real quick. For those of you who don't know what a baronet is, that it's not the same thing as a baron. It's more like aristocratic person that's just above being knighted, but not actually royalty. Okay, go ahead.
And his sister, Lucille. He seeks investors for his invention, a digging machine that he believes will revive the defunct clay mines of his family's estate. However, Mr. Cushing is unimpressed with Sharp's prototype and his previous failures to raise capital, and so rejects the proposal. Nevertheless, Thomas charms an initially prickly Edith, and the two become romantically attached. Thomas requests that Lucille give him her ring, a family heirloom that she hands over with the statement that she expects it to be returned to her. Cushing has a personal dislike for the Sharps and hires a private detective, Mr. Holly. Mr. Holly uncovers unsavory facts about the siblings. Mr. Cushing then bribes the pair to leave America immediately. Moreover, he insists that Thomas break Edith's heart, causing Thomas to insult her by disparaging her novel. The next day, however, Thomas returns Edith's manuscript accompanied by a letter explaining his actions. The couple reconcile with Edith accepting Thomas's proposal. The same day, Mr. Cushing is brutally and mysteriously murdered at his club. Edith's childhood friend, Dr. Alan McMichael, is suspicious of the circumstances, but Edith refuses to let him investigate further. Following the funeral, Edith and Thomas marry and leave for England. They arrive at Allerdale Hall, the Sharps' dilapidated mansion in Cumberland, which is steadily sinking into the red clay mine it sits atop while being eroded by the weather. Lucille is cold toward Edith while Thomas remains physically aloof, their marriage unconsummated. Lucille obsessively plies Edith with tea made from firethorn berries, and Thomas persuades her to obtain the first half of her late father's estate to continue construction on his mining machine. Winter approaches, and Thomas mentions that the estate is referred to as Crimson Peak due to the warm red clay seeping through the snow. The siblings talk about how their brutal father squandered the family fortune while their mother was harsh and distant. Edith grows weak and begins coughing up blood. She is plagued by disturbing nightmares and sees gruesome skeletal red ghosts around Allerdale. It tricks her into opening a closet where she discovers wax phonograph cylinders and chases her into the cellars where she finds a locked trunk with Enola engraved on the latch. Thomas takes Edith on an outing to the local post office, where the postal clerk gives her a letter from Italy addressed to E. Sharp. Thomas and Edith are snowed in for the night and take the opportunity to finally make love. Lucille lashes out at Edith after their return, apparently upset that Edith and Thomas slept together. One of the keys that Lucille carries bears the inscription Enola. When Lucille is distracted, Edith steals it. Using it to unlock the trunk in the cellar, she finds a gramophone, which she uses to play the wax cylinders from the closet. Between these and the letter from the post office, she discovers that Thomas previously married 3 other wealthy women, one of whom was an Italian named Enola Schiatti. Edith realizes Lucille is poisoning her, and the siblings have engaged in a marriage and murder scheme to support themselves and finance Thomas's inventions. When Edith goes to confront her husband and sister-in-law, she catches them in an incestuous embrace. Lucille pushes her from a balcony, hoping to kill Edith, but only breaking her leg. Meanwhile, back in the United States, Alan has learned what Mr. Cushing uncovered about the Sharps prior to his death, Thomas's multiple marriages, and Lucille's time in a mental institution. He travels to Allerdale Hall in the dead of winter to rescue Edith. When Alan arrives, he finds Edith injured, but when he tries to take her back to the village, Lucille refuses. By now, Thomas has fallen in love with Edith, feels suffocated by Lucille, and wants to leave her. Lucille stabs Alan in the underarm, then demands that Tom finish him. Wishing to protect Edith, he inflicts a non-fatal stab wound to Alan's stomach and hides him. Lucille forces Edith to sign a transfer deed, granting the Sharps ownership of her estate, and admits she murdered Edith's father and her own mother once the siblings' sexual relationship was discovered. Edith stabs Lucille and attempts to flee. Thomas burns the transfers and begs his sister to leave with him and start a new life. However, Lucille realizes he wants Edith with them as well. In a jealous rage, she kills him by stabbing him in the face, then pursues Edith. Aided by Thomas' ghost serving as a distraction, Edith kills Lucille with a shovel. Edith silently bids Thomas farewell before he vanishes. Edith and Alan are rescued by the villagers, whereas Lucille becomes the black ghost of Allerdale Hall, trapped in the mansion playing piano for all eternity. The end credits imply that Edith has written a novel entitled Crimson Peak, based on her experiences.
Okay. While the plot is rather straightforward, what makes the film visually compelling is the dynamics of the setting, incredible structure of the set for the mansion that they do for the film, and the gothic noir flair of the lighting, color palettes, and Whoops. No. What just happened? Did I freeze up?
I mean, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. All right. Color palettes and point of reference throughout the Allendale Hall mansion. Notably, the way the walls of letters scarred into them. Spelling the word fear, how the floors bleed as the red clay the mansion is based on seeps up through the floorboards, and other examples. The set of Allerdale Hall is as much a character as the cast, and without this exceptional set production, this film would have been pretty dull and predictable, I think. One note of interest is that the film originally cast Benedict Cumberbatch and Emma Stone as Thomas and Edith, respectively. But for whatever reasons, they both dropped out of the production. I think this was probably for the best, as Hiddleston, Wasikowska, and Chastain had all worked together on previous films, so there was a familiarity between the trio that I believe led to a stronger performance for the cast. That's not to knock Cumberbatch or Stone, who are both exceptional authors in their own actors in their own right. I just don't think the same chemistry would have been there. Let's go ahead and do this. Here we go. Story-wise, however, Edith just isn't that much of a sympathetic character for me. If you're haunted by your mother's spirit who tells you to wear a Crimson Peak and your new husband is on Crimson Peak, shouldn't that raise you some concern for you? Chastain as Lucille does a superb job driving the film forward as the main villain. Let's be honest. She is the main villain. Thomas is merely the bait.
And I actually read that when Guillermo Del Toro first gave her the script, he had in mind that Chastain would actually play Edith, and it was Chastain who said, "No, I'd rather play Lucille," which I think was the right decision.
Yes, definitely. But like I say, Thomas is the bait, shall we say, and she's the mastermind between the two. Hiddleston as Thomas is not exactly your most sympathetic character either. You can easily see why Edith's father is suspicious of both of them, which is another reason why it's hard to be rooting for Edith because, hey, are you that stupid? But I also didn't like how quickly Thomas's ghost shows up at the end to protect Edith. At the end of the film, he had only just been killed, like maybe minutes before. And usually in these type of stories, it takes the ghost some time to get over to the shock that they're dead and manifest into a force of nature on our plane of existence. So that was a little bit weird. Went a little bit too quickly. But overall, I do think it's an enjoyable film. I don't know if I'm as fond of it as you are. What do you think?
I think, well, for one thing, I'm really becoming a fan of Guillermo del Toro.
Okay, well, that's not hard to do.
And of course, I haven't seen any of his earlier Spanish language films.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the first film of his I saw was Hellboy, and then you and I saw Hellboy 2 in the theater, and those were enjoyable films for what they were. But then Pan's Labyrinth really knocked me out, and I haven't seen Pacific Rim yet, but starting from Pan's Labyrinth, of course, we talked about Nightmare Alley on an earlier show.
We've also talked about Color of Water, was it?
The Shape of Water, yeah.
Shape of Water,
yeah.
Yes.
And plus, he's the creator of the animated series Troll Hunters, which is a fantastic series based on his Tales of Arcadia. I think that's what they call it. But So I've really become a fan, and it's just, and then, like he has a visual style that all of his films just look beautiful, and this film is certainly no exception.
Yeah,
And
you mentioned Nightmare Alley. There's a lot of similar filming style between these two films.
mhm.
They do a lot of close-up circles that go to fade to black and then open up again in both films. They do a lot of color coordination with different locations to
Yeah,
create certain tone and mood that often, it's very interesting because I really hated Edith's outfits. They just, I won't say they were garish, but I mean, they were just in such contrast to wherever she was. You know,
yeah,
it felt like she was completely out of her element, which she is.
yeah. She is.
I mean, it is appropriate design and it's done on purpose. But at the same time, I just feel like it, it was just too much. I guess I don't know, but I would have preferred something a little more muted at different times with that. Um, yeah, that's kind of the thing with this one, though. I mean, I kind of saw very similar um, structure in how um, the films progress and how they build their build up to the climax, both this one and Nightmare Alley.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, is this just the normal way that noir films do? Because this is still a noir film, even though it's gothic, romantic noir film, and it has a little bit of horror in it, I guess you could say. Um, I don't know. I wasn't really scared so much as I was, from it so much as I was waiting for something a little bit more supernatural than what happened. I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Okay.
But yeah, I like the fact that the ghosts were actually benevolent instead of
Mm-hmm.
malevolent.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice. I thought.
No, that makes sense. I mean, well, the one thing I would like is though is if the ghosts are going to be benevolent, maybe not make them look quite so terrifying as they're supposed to be terrifying. I mean, I didn't really see them as terrifying, but I mean, I could see why a little 10-year-old girl who sees her mom as this weird black skeletal, you know, thing would be pretty frightened. But yeah, the main thing was I guess I'm too much of a skeptic. I would have thought that she wouldn't have gotten caught into that. Um, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, I was a little bit weirded out by her freak out that her dad, when her best friend, who she knows is a physician, um, wants to examine the body, and she's like, "No, you can't do that." I'm like, "What? That's his job."
Yeah.
They kind of have to do an autopsy to see what happened here. If they can figure it out. Because unfortunately, um, yes, he could have slipped and fell, but it wouldn't have been smashed into the face the way it was. It'd have been one blow to the head,
Yeah.
most likely. And it would have been grazed off to the side, most likely. So, that's what I'm saying. It was awfully weird that they did it that way. The other thing I didn't like was if she broke her leg from the fall, she gets around way too easily afterwards.
Let's chalk it up to the will to live.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, it's like, yes, I'm going to climb up the shaft to get outside and everything. It's a little bit too much, you know. um, but I don't know. It would have been interesting to see, but yeah, it was just a weird. But I think Chastain really stole the show as far as performance.
Yeah, she did.
Um,
And I just say I did like Tom Hiddleston. That's like,
oh no, he did a nice job. Don't get me wrong. I just think that Chastain just like.
Oh yeah. It's like, you know, I really did hope that that Tom and Edith would end up together. He did it. He did a very good job. But yes, you are correct. Jessica Chastain was.
I had no desire to see Tom and Edith together at all. Not that there wasn't chemistry between the actors, but I guess it was just pretty obvious that she was supposed to end up with Charlie Hunnam's character, Alan. It was just, you know, I really just did not even really understand what she saw in Tom at all. He was just very superficial to me. But, you know, that's me. Although I would say, after seeing this, Hiddleston would make a really good version of DC's The Shade. DC Comics The Shade. I don't know if you're familiar with that villain or not.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right. Hold on a second. Now you see him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
But that would be kind of my thought there. But I could see him doing that. But hey, I'm Loki. I don't need to be another DC character. I don't need to be a DC character too, right? That's what he'd probably say. Not that I blame him. I mean, you know, how many comic book movies can you be in, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. Hold on a sec. Let me see if I can get this thing to share. All right. I gave it 3. You gave it 4.
Yep.
And like I said, I wasn't quite as sold on it as you were. I guess I don't know. In some places, it works really fast. It moves really fast, and other times it just. I won't say it stalls. It's just slowed down to give you pertinent information that you do need to know, but at the same time, like, just get on with it.
Okay.
But again, it wasn't a bad film by any means. But okay. Got any more things to add?
I don't think so. I remember I never saw this in the theaters for some reason. I don't remember why. I was probably doing theater or something at the time and was too busy. I wish I had seen it in the theaters. I bet it would look marvelous on the big screen.
Yeah, that's true. I think that is something that, you know, the way the set is, you probably would get more of it on the big screen rather than watching it on television. But it is what it is.
Oh, well.
Yep. All right. Next week, we are going to be reviewing the science fiction films Portals and The Dawn Seeker. And that'll be next week at 8 p.m. Oops, wrong one. There we go. I don't like it. I don't like it when it gets too close. But if you appreciate or enjoyed this episode, and you like this video, or you think others might, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from this channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. If you want to reach out to me on Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. If you want to see some of my artwork, deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven, exclusively on YouTube. Email me at quothetheravenlbr72@gmail.com with questions, comments, requests for art, what have you. I'll get back to you within, give me a couple days, 48 hours, something like that. Try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. And if you want to reach out to John, it is Gray Figaro, GreyFigaro @hotmail.com.
Yep.
So until next time, we will see you soon. Sunday, I will be back with a live draw, and my special guest will be Ted Davies. We'll both be drawing simultaneously each other's characters, so it'll be interesting to see what we come up with. Until then, see you next time. Have a good one.
See you, folks.